Hey, good morning, Nazir. How you doing today? How you doing today, Nazir? Did you have a good weekend? Everything going well? Are you with me out there? Good morning, Jamad.
You,
Hey,
you.
Jamad, I don't see you. I don't see you on my list for attendance. So I would could be an error on my end, but I would double check your schedule, make sure you're in the right class for second period for Monday, Thursday. Like I said, I do not have you on my list here, so just make sure you got the right link for the right class.
So I'm on your class.
I don't see you on my list, Jamal. So I would double check you on your schedule because I don't have you on my attendance for today.
All right.
Good morning, Miss Cat.
Good morning. How are you?
I am well. How are you? How was your weekend?
It was good. I'm doing well. It's just very rainy out. I was hoping it would snow.
I know. Well, we're supposed to get plenty of that later this week, so I
Oh,
hear.
yeah.
Do you live in the city or are you a little bit outside?
So I'm right in University City on Penn's campus.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah.
Are you in like campus housing?
Yeah. Um, I'm a GA for residents this year, except we don't have any residents and they're all virtual, which is very funny.
Yeah. I have some good friends from college that are either they were GAs or now they are like straight up building directors or like, in charge of res life and stuff.
Yeah.
I am very familiar with the res life crew.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting this year.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm trying to send some reminders out here to some people. See if we can get a few more people logged on so it's not just us and Nazir today. Let me see who else we got. All right, we'll give it a few more minutes here. See if we get some more people logged on. How was your weekend, Miss Cat? Anything exciting happen?
Not really. I tried to make a gingerbread house, but it didn't really turn out. And every single year I do that. And like, I know I'm going to be frustrated, but I still try to make the perfect gingerbread house.
Do you just get like the kits?
Yeah. Yeah. So it should be easy, but it always falls apart.
They are. I was just gonna say I don't do them often, but I did one 2 Christmases ago at my last job. We had like a Christmas party. We all made. Hey, Relisha, we all made. We had like a gingerbread house decorating contest, and they are tricky. Like if you don't get the cream just right, then the roof doesn't stick together.
Yeah.
And like put stuff on top of it. Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah.
That's why I have a lot of respect. Sorry, I have a lot of respect for the people who do them like straight up from scratch, like make gingerbread and like that's another level.
Yeah, that's awesome. I remember seeing like gingerbread competitions. Like we used to go to this Christmas Village place in Bethlehem, PA, and they would have a gingerbread house contest, and they were like huge, like mansions of gingerbread.
I'm from Bethlehem.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I grew up in Coopersburg, but my family is from Bethlehem, so I'm very, very, very familiar with all of the Christmas City shenanigans. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they take it seriously in there. Yeah, and a good friend of mine used to actually work for the Chamber of Commerce. She used to be like second in command, and so she would like plan everything, and she would tell me how. I mean, it's nationally recognized as the Christmas city, and every year there'd be people who'd be like, "Nope, it's not enough. We need to do more. We need to do more." Like, this is crazy here.
Yeah. I love that area.
It's around this time of year. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. Good morning, Relisha. How are you doing today? How was your weekend?
Good morning. It was good. Thanks for asking.
That is good, of course. Is anybody excited about the snow we're supposed to get, or are we anti-snow people in here?
I'm excited because it's not like we have to go anywhere. So
Yeah, that's true. I know. I was talking to Miss Chess earlier in first period, and we were saying like, at first you're like, ooh, we might have a snow day, and then you're like, oh, but I guess now that really doesn't mean anything since we're home anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Mr. Gary and Dr. Dave will be nice and tell us we don't have to log on anyway, but probably not. All right, so we'll give it maybe like 2 more minutes here and see if we get anybody else logged on. Miss Jess, since only Relisha and Nazir, or I'm sorry, I just called you Miss Jess because I was thinking about first period, Miss Cat. Sorry. Since we have a bit of a smaller crowd today, if you have anything you want to do for like a few minutes first, you can feel free to do that today since we're just kind of like catching up on stuff from last class.
Sure.
We had like
So I
announcements
could.
or like any mental health stuff you want to do. I don't mind starting with that this morning.
Yeah. Let me think for a second. I did have something from last week, but I need to remember what it was.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So something I talked about last week with other classes was the importance of routines and having routines. And I'm interested to know if any of you have routines, because some people, I guess, are very go with the flow and they don't do the same things every day. But I would argue that like most things we do are a routine. So for example, like sleeping, like when we go to bed and when we wake up, that's technically a routine. Same with like eating meals. We tend to eat meals around the same time or snack around the same time. So that would also be considered a routine. Um, some people have morning routines. I know it's very big on YouTube to like show their morning and nighttime routines that usually consist of like, I don't know, like skincare and I don't know, writing in journals or like meditating. Um, there's exercise routines, there's spiritual and prayer routines, um, even like sitting down and studying or doing your homework, like that could be considered a routine if you do it in a certain way. Like, say you need to grab like a cup of coffee or tea, that could be considered a routine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Ike, it is good to see you here, my friend. Although I do not have you on my attendance for today, so I would double check your schedule, make sure you are in the right class. Second period for Monday and Thursday. So just make sure you're in the right class and that you have the right link. I do not see you on my list, so I'm gonna assume you do not have me today. I think I have you Tuesdays and Thursdays. Right. I'm sorry, Miss Cat. You were talking about routines.
No, you're good. Yeah, I guess some benefits I found around routines are that they can reduce stress because you already kind of have a plan for each day. They can encourage healthy habits. They can lead to increased productivity and a greater ability to focus and concentrate. Um, but yeah, do you guys like the idea of routines? I know, especially this year, like 2020, routine has been really important to some people to stay, I don't know, to have some sort of control over what's going on because everything's been kind of hectic and out of control. So routine can help with that uncertainty. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it open to you guys. If you guys have any routines, if you support them, if you don't like them, are you a planner? Do you not like to plan? I'm interested.
So what are our thoughts on routines?
I know I've gotten better with quarantine and the pandemic. I feel like I didn't really have a routine, and this actually helped me get into having one because it helped me feel more like in control. But I also know people on the flip side who kind of fell out of their routine because like a lot of their routine was going to different places and waking up, for example, to go to school or go to work, and that's what helped them stay in it. But if you're stuck at home, like that can really mess with your schedule.
Yeah, I know that has been what's been toughest for me, because I really like routines, and I read this book right around the beginning of quarantine called Atomic Habits, which I highly recommend if you haven't read it. But that's what it's all about, is like creating small habits that can have a big impact on like your everyday thing. But I've noticed what's been tough to keep up with that, especially like, workout habits and stuff is, not physically going places. Like before quarantine, I'd be like, okay, I come home from work and I change right away into my gym clothes, and then that prompts me to go to the gym. But now we're not going to those places, so it's tough.
Mhm.
And I know I've heard from a lot of students that like that's what they miss the most about not being in person, is that they don't have the routine of like having to get up and actually physically go to school, because
Yeah.
that helped them like with their attendance a lot. Have any of you noticed that? Relisha, Nazir, Ike, while we still have you here, while you're looking for the right link. But have any of you guys found that that if we were actually going to the building, it might be better for your routine of like getting to class and stuff like that? Or do you not mind doing it virtually? What do you guys think? Anyone who is still out there that has any thoughts? Relisha, I think you're the only one we've heard from so far this morning. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I also am interested to hear what you have to.
What you say?
We're talking about Miss Kat's question about routines, and like if I was asking if being virtual and not having the routine of like having to physically go to school every day has been tough. Has it like messed with your kind of routine of like getting to class, or is it not that big of a deal like that we're virtual? Or just kind of your thoughts in general on like routines. Are we big on routines, or are we more kind of go with the flow?
I feel like I'm kind of neutral because, like, I just go with the flow. But then again, a routine is kind of nice to have here and there. Like, I would prefer to be in school than rather than online school, because it's harder to keep up with, and it's harder to like, like when you go to school, it's like you have like you right there, so it's like you gotta get it done right then and there. But when virtual school, you be procrastinating and stuff. You be feeling like I'm gonna get it done because it's right there. Like it's there whenever I need to go to it. I don't gotta do it right now. Like I feel like we had more pressure, not pressure, but like we had more what's the word I'm looking for? Motivation to do the work right then and there, like in school, because we really didn't have a choice. Like we in class, so we got to do the work. But it's different when you at home, because like you home, like you don't really be like feeling
Right.
like it.
It's an environment thing, right? You're in a
Yeah, because
different.
it's like you gotta try to live your life and still make time for school and work and stuff.
Right. Yeah. No, totally. I totally agree. And it's the same, know that it's the same way for us teachers too. Like it's all, environments are huge on, helping with routines. And so when we're in the environment of school where it's a physically different place, like you said, really should, you have no excuse. You have to do the work right then and there. But when you're in the environment of your home or your living room, it's good. I have to be in school, but it's also I'm in my bedroom, or my kitchen is right down the hallway, so I can go get a snack, or like you said, you can come back to it later because it's virtually. So I think that has a big effect too, and it's hard to do that. Even from the teacher side too, it's hard for us to switch our brains into gear. Like, okay, I have to be, a teacher now, even though I'm, sitting on my couch. Yeah, and it looks like Miss Cat feels the same.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And also, like, it can be difficult to find time to relax as well, because I feel like since our workspaces and leisure spaces are overlapping, like the time can also overlap between those two. So I definitely miss being able to leave and have separation between school and work and home. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Deja. Good morning. Are there any routine, and Deja, welcome. We're just kind of, since we have a little bit of a smaller crowd this morning, we're just starting with some like community meeting type stuff. So Miss Cat is leading us in some talk about routines and stuff. So actually, Deja, you'd be a good person to ask since you are a relatively new mom. Have you created any routines that you didn't have before now that you have the baby, or have you kind of stayed the same? Or how do you feel about
Mm-hmm.
routines?
Yeah, sometimes. Well, I try to set up like, have like little activities in the afternoon for her since, we're not in school and stuff. And, you know, schedule her naps in between so she won't be up all night and make sure she go to sleep early, like have a good, sleeping schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was going to be my guess is like, routines for sleeping schedule and stuff like that. That is what Mr. V needs, a new sleeping schedule routine, because the one I have now is not very great. How about yourself, Miss Cat? Are there any routines that you've started since quarantine or that have faded off or vice versa?
Yeah, my routine was really good during like the summer and beginning of fall. I feel like, I don't know, I was just really on top of things and I would go for walks every single day, which I really enjoyed. But now that it's getting darker earlier and it's cold outside, I'm not able to go on like a daily walk anymore, which is something that like is so minor, but I really enjoyed, especially considering we're inside most of the day. So now I'm noticing that I'm spending so much time in one area. So I think I need to, like you said, like revamp my routine and make it more conducive to having to be inside because of the weather and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. It's been tough. That's kind of where I started to falter with my routines too. Like I was doing a good job, running a bunch of times a week in the summertime, and then it started to get super hot. I was like, oh, it's almost too hot to run outside. And so then you're like, all right, I'll just work out inside today, and then that, falls off, a little bit more. So I'm trying to figure out new cues for myself because that's
Mhm.
in that book that I read. That's what he's big on. Is like, how do you cue your brain to start forming these habits? Okay, whenever this happens, my brain it's telling my brain that we have to do this. I mean, so it's like, okay, whenever this TV show is done, then I turn the TV off, and now I change, and now I work out, and things like that. But again, like a bunch of us have said, that's hard to do when we're in our house the whole time and we don't have a different environment to come from to kind of
Yeah.
spur that action each time.
Yeah. That's a good idea though, the cues. It reminds me of like visualization, and visualizing yourself doing something in the future might help you to like actually go and do it. Um, yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah, for sure. That's helped me a bunch. Any other thoughts on routines that we haven't shared? Is there anything like Relisha, Deja, Nazir? Is there anything that has helped you guys? I know we've said it is hard to do the virtual kind of school stuff, but is there anything you guys have done that you found has helped you get work done? Even if it's not every single day or all the time, but is there anything you've done that has kind of helped you stay on top of it as much as you can, or are you kind of just going with the flow each time?
Well, I'm actually just going with the flow. Like, I don't really want to rush into nothing. Like, I feel like if I rush, everything is not going to be like how I want it.
Yeah, so you're kind of like taking your time and knowing that you can
Mm-hmm.
come to this, like get caught up and stuff.
Yes.
That's good. I mean, that's a perfectly fine way to do it. Relisha, anything for you, or you're just kind of same with Deja, just kind of going with the flow?
Kind of just part of the flow.
Very cool. Very cool. Sometimes that is the best way to do it, especially in the environment now where things are changing all the time in terms of like regulations and restrictions and what's going to happen and all that stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes day by day is the best way to take it.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you to Miss Cat for that little symposium on routines.
Anytime.
So, ladies and gents, we have a good bit of time right now to kind of pick up where we left off last class. All right. So The first thing I'm going to do is throw up a question on my screen that hopefully we can respond to in the chat. All right. So I have a quote here from Edgar Allan Poe. What I am asking you is this quote a good definition of poetry? Why or why not? Now, obviously, it's going to sound a little bit, wordy, flowery because it's Edgar Allan Poe. It's, the 1800s. But do you think this is a good definition of poetry? Why or why not? And he says, I would define in brief the poetry of words as the rhythmical creation of beauty. So take a minute, let that sink in, and then tell me in the chat, do you think that's a good definition for poetry? Why or why not? I would define in brief the poetry of words as the rhythmical creation of beauty. What do we think? Good definition? Yes, no? Have we put it in the chat? Nothing in there yet. And who else has joined us? Hey, Denim, welcome. Good morning. So what do we think for this, my friends? Is this a good definition of poetry? This quote right here, I would define in brief the poetry of words as the rhythmical creation of beauty. And I know that might sound weird when we hear it because of the way it's written. So you can just think of him as defining poetry as the rhythmical creation of beauty. That's his definition. So do you think that's a good definition? Do you agree? Or do you not like that definition of poetry? Why or why not? Let's take another maybe minute or two. Tell me in the chat. I like to see at least 2 responses in there.
Wait, what you say?
I said what I would like to see in the chat is at least 2 responses to this question, which is, do we think this quote is a good definition of poetry? Where he says, I would define in brief the poetry of words as the rhythmical creation of beauty. Do you think that is a good definition of poetry? Why or why not? Tell me in the chat, please. So again, we'll take another minute or two, see if we come up with something. I'd like to hear from you. All right, let's check the chat. What do we think? Any thoughts on this? Yes, it's a good definition. No, it's not. They just said yes, it's a good definition because. Do you mean yes because it's different, Deja? Is that what you mean? Is that why you think it's a good definition?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree too. Because, obviously a lot of it has to do with the way it's written. And of course, it's Edgar Allan Poe, so it's going to sound a little different regardless. But I think when people define poetry, we don't usually think about it in that way. What do we think that means? The rhythmical creation of beauty. What does that mean to you? Anybody who has a thought for that? What does he mean by this? The rhythmical creation of beauty. Any thoughts you can put in the chat? You can come off mute if that works better. I know y'all are still out there, so I want to hear from you. What do we think? What do we think he means by this? The rhythmical creation of beauty. We're creating beauty through what? Rhythmical creation of beauty, creating beauty through what? If he says it's the rhythmical creation of beauty, what are we using to create that beauty with then? How can we pick that apart? Put it in the chat too. So rhythmical creation of beauty would mean creating beauty through what? What do we think for this? Any thoughts? Anybody fill in that blank that I just put into the chat? And Miss Hurley, is that you who just joined us, can I assume, since it just says die?
Yeah,
Oh, good morning. Good to see you again.
and I found my way back.
This has been a minute. That is good. So we are talking about this quote that I have up here right now by Edgar Allan Poe, where he says, I would define in brief poetry of words as the rhythmical creation of beauty. And our question to get us started today is the following quote a good definition of poetry? Why or why not? And we already had a few responses. They just said that yes, it's a good definition because it's different. It's not usually the kind of definition we get when we think about poetry. And so what I'm asking now, and I just put in the chat, is, what does he mean by that phrase, the rhythmical creation of beauty? We're creating beauty through what?
Maybe.
Say it again.
Poetry.
Creating beauty through poetry, right? And what else? If it's rhythmical, what else do we have to use? What's he saying is implied in poetry? If something is rhythmical, it means it has what?
Rhythm.
Yeah, rhythm, exactly. So I think what he's saying in his definition here is that by using the rhythm of poetry, we're creating beauty. And notice how he capitalizes beauty here. Now, that was a thing that was common kind of at, during his time period. is capitalizing specific words like that, but they do it to make a point, saying that it's not beauty with lowercase b, it's beauty with an uppercase b, as this like almost like its own being, this like otherworldly thing. We're trying to capture this essence of beauty through the rhythm of these words we put together. I really like this definition too, and I think it's one that we should always think about when we're thinking of poetry. Okay. All right, good job with that. Thank you, Di. So, ladies and gents, if you were here last class, just to catch everybody up, we did not have the best engagement, which was unfortunate, but we're doing a lot better today. So I appreciate that from everybody. Thank you very much. Those of you who have already participated and shared. So really good job with that. Remember, that is part of our attendance grade, is participation. So we looked at this poem by Billy Collins, right? Introduction to Poetry, which I'm going to throw up on my screen again in a minute. So what you can do right now, what we're going to focus on for the rest of today, is pull it up on your end on Summit under checkpoint 1. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you how to get there. So if you have your laptop with you, you have Summit pulled up. If you are in our class, which is English 4, Pop Culture Poetry, right? You can go to checkpoint 1, okay? And if you click on checkpoint 1, word choice annotations, and you scroll down, you should see towards the bottom, it says word choice practice 1, okay? And if you click that, it will bring you to a page that looks like this, all right? And so this page that I have pulled up right here is what you should have pulled up in Summit. That's what we're going to work from for the rest of today, right? So again, one more time real quick. You're in our class on Summit, Pop Culture Poetry. Click on checkpoint 1. Scroll down until you see word choice practice 1. And then click on that, and it'll bring you to this page right here. So I'd like you to try and pull that up as I'm going through this right here. When you have it pulled up, give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat that you have this pulled up on Summit, so I know everybody is on the right page, okay? So I'll give you guys a minute or two to pull that up right now if you haven't yet. And I'll put it in the chat as well in case you didn't catch that, all right? Okay, you should all be assigned in Summit already. So if you, for some reason, are not, please let me know. I will give you the code and assign you. But word choice practice 1 under checkpoint 1 in Summit, this page right here is what we should have pulled up. So again, when you get this pulled up on your end, please let me know in the chat. Give me a thumbs up or just tell me you got it, so I know that we are ready to keep on going. How are we doing? We're getting this pulled up. Everybody's getting there. We need a few more seconds. Deja says yes. Isaac says got it. Thank you. All right, we'll keep moving along here. Again, remember we are recording, so you can always go back to the recording on YouTube and watch if you're trying to get caught up, or come see me in the Summit Lab. All right. But ladies and gents, if you have this pulled up, you will see, and I have it shared on my screen too as well if you don't have it pulled up yet. But see, we have our poem here. It should look familiar if you were here last class, right? And what we want to do on this is kind of practice annotating, looking at word choice, since that's going to be our checkpoint 1 task. And you can see we have 3 different colors here that they want us to highlight for. If it is a word that we don't know, we're going to highlight that in yellow. If it's a word that seems emotionally loaded, we're going to highlight that in purple. Okay. Hello, hello, and I see we have some more people joining us. Ronnie, welcome. Let me just update my attendance real quick. All right. A few of us, I think, may not be in the correct class. I'm going to keep you here today since we are just about done. But just a reminder for everybody to make sure they are double checking their schedule and in the right place. Yeah. All right, cool. So again, sorry, let me pull that back up. All right. So if it's words we don't know, we're gonna highlight that in yellow. If it's words that seem emotionally loaded, we're gonna highlight that in purple. And if it's words that do not seem literal or actually true as written, we're gonna highlight that in green. And this is something we see a lot in poetry. Words that are, phrases that are not to be taken literally, right? So this second one here, words that seem emotionally loaded. What do they mean by that? What does it mean if words seem emotionally loaded? What do we think that means? Anybody with thoughts on that? Come there in the chat or come off mute. All right. Diana, I actually do not see you on my list. So that's probably why you don't see any assignments, because I don't think you are in this class. You might have gotten your links mixed up. I had you for English last term, so maybe that's where the confusion was.
No, but it says no assignments like at all.
For any of your classes?
Yeah, it's a you're all set for your next mentoring check-in with Barb.
Have
no courses have been assigned to you yet this year.
Have you registered for any of your, you put any of the codes in for any of your classes?
Yeah, I don't think it's been a year yet.
Okay, that might be a Miss Christina question then. I know at least for me, I don't have you for this class, I don't think. So that would be the answer.
What class is this?
This is English 4, second period, Monday, Thursday. I don't see you on my attendance. So that's why I'm saying that you might have your links mixed up for today.
Yeah, I see English 4, but it says it's like dystopian worlds. It's English 3, it's English 10 for some reason.
Yeah, so those are your classes from previous terms. So I would get with Miss C and double check about your classes for this term. If you have more codes to put in, or if it's like the teachers have to assign you stuff on their end, I'm not sure if I'm not looking at it, but that'd be my best guess.
Okay.
But thank you for letting me know. But anybody else who is still with us, can we come up with any thoughts on that? This second one right here, it says in purple, we're highlighting words that seem emotionally loaded, right? What does that mean if a word is emotionally loaded? What do you guys think that means? Any thoughts? You can tell me in the chat or on mute, or excuse me, come off mute. What do we think if what do we think it means if a word is emotionally loaded? Relisha, what do you think about that? If a word is emotionally loaded, what might that mean?
I don't know. Probably like you got a lot on your mind.
Can you say, you were breaking up a little bit. Can you say it one more time? I'm sorry.
I said maybe he got a lot on his mind.
All right, on his mind, could be. Just in general though, if a word is emotionally loaded, what do we think that means? Do you think there is no emotion attached to a word if it's emotionally loaded, or do you think maybe there's a lot of emotion attached to it if it's emotionally loaded? What do we think would be the difference? Again, if a word, hey Ronnie, welcome back. If a word is emotionally loaded, do we think that there's a lot of emotions attached to it, or not so much? Emotionally loaded. What do we think? A lot of emotions attached, or maybe doesn't mean anything? Any thoughts? Relisha was saying maybe it means he has a lot of stuff on his mind, which I think is definitely on the right track. But just in general, words that seem emotionally loaded, what does that mean? Does that mean that they convey a lot of emotion? Does it mean that they represent a specific emotion? They have emotion attached to them, or does it not mean any of those things? What do you think? Sooner we get this question answered from somebody out there, sooner we can keep on moving here.
I think it's emotional.
Yeah, definitely emotional. Deja, right. So if a word is emotionally loaded, it means that it has a lot of emotion attached to it. It invokes or it conveys a lot of emotion in the reader. So maybe I read these words and they spark anger in me, or they spark fear in me, they spark sadness in me because of the way that they are presented. So that's what we're looking for when we talk about emotionally loaded words. So what y'all are going to do with this is basically read through this poem and try and highlight these specific words according to these different colors. So if I were doing this, I'll do kind of a little bit for you guys to show you what you'll be working on between now and next class. So the first thing I would do is read the poem all the way through once, which we've already done a couple times last class. Whenever you're annotating anything like this, smart thing to do is always just read through it once. So it says, I asked them to take a poem and hold it up to the light like a color slide, or press an ear against its hive. I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out, or walk inside the poem's room and feel the walls for a light switch. I want them to water ski across the surface of a poem, waving at the author's name on the shore. But all they want to do is tie the poem to a chair with rope and torture a confession out of it. they begin beating it with a hose to find out what it really wants. Okay? So I've read through. Now I'm going to go back and see if there's any of these, color codes that I can highlight. So the first one is words I don't know. So maybe the first one would be hive, right? I'm not sure what they mean by a hive. Do they mean, a beehive, like a hive you get from a rash? So what I do is I would highlight over that just like that, as if I were going to copy and paste. I'd come up here to where it says highlight, and I make that one yellow, okay? So that tells me this is a word I don't know. All right, next I'm going to look for words that seem emotionally loaded. Now, as Deja told us, these are words that have a lot of emotion attached. They convey a lot of emotion to the reader. So the one I think of the most with this would be, at least for me, would be beating, right? Because I hear that, I think of, somebody beating, maybe abuse, violence, okay? That conveys a lot of emotions, right? So I would highlight that one purple, okay? And then lastly is words that do not seem literal or actually true as written, okay? So this would be a phrase that I know he doesn't mean he's literally doing this. It's just kind of like a way to convey the meaning. So I'm looking at around, this first group of stanzas right here. Is there any line or any stanza in these first couple up here that we think would apply to this green one? Words that do not seem literal or actually true. Is there anything you guys can see here? And I'll zoom in a little bit if I can. I don't know if I can. I think I can a little bit. Yeah. Anything in these first few lines right here that we think we could highlight green, that is something that is not meant to be taken literally, something that he's not actually doing, he's just saying it for the poem. Anything that jumps out to you specifically?
I say drop a mouse into a poem and watch him probe his way out.
Yes, good job. Who was that?
Me.
Oh, Alicia, good job. I'm just trying to make sure who's who. Yeah, exactly. I say drop a mouse into a poem because he doesn't literally want to drop a mouse down. He's saying when you're trying to analyze a poem, you should be as curious as a mouse, trying to probe his way out of a maze. So, I would highlight that first line there, and then I would go up here to highlight, and I would make that one green. Okay? And now that's one of each. So now I want to keep going through the poem, see if there's any more that I can do. So ladies and gents, that's going to be your guys' job between that now and next class on Thursday is on this activity. And I'll put this as a announcement on Summit so you guys know. But word choice practice 1 under checkpoint 1 on Summit. Annotating and highlighting just like I did here, the whole poem, okay, as much as you can. And then if you get that finished, you can even go ahead and start checkpoint 1, which is essentially doing the same thing, just with other poem examples. But we'll get into that and go over it next class, okay? So ladies and gents, what I would like you to do before we wrap up here is give me a 1 to 5 in the chat. Do you understand what you need to do with that activity for next class? 5 being, yes, I got it. No questions at all. I'm good to go. 1 being, I'm totally lost. I need some help. I need to come to the Summit Lab, or I'm way behind, whatever it is. All right. Give me a 1 to 5 in the chat before you go. Once I get your response in the chat, you are good to go for today. Relisha, I got yours. Thank you. All right. Denim, I got yours. Thank you. So once I get that, you're good to go. I will see you again on Thursday. Stay safe. All right. And remember, progress reports coming out this week. All right. So Deja, Nazir, Ranye, give me that 1 to 5 in the chat. Once I see that from you, you are good to go for today. And if you have questions, let me know or come to the Summit Lab this afternoon. All right. Good job today. Thank you, Miss Cat, for
Yeah,
joining.
see you. Have a good day, everyone.
Absolutely, you too. All right, Deja, thank you. You're good to go. Monsieur Rondier, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to go ahead and end the chat then, since it is 11:26. But if you do have questions, you can shoot me an email, give me a shout, or come see me in the Summit Lab, which is the same link as the one for this class. Okay. All right, y'all. Good job. I will see you again on Thursday.